Welcome to the third lesson in this Java tutorial series, and today we are going to be talking about variables and data types. Now, variables are location in memory in which values can be stored, and they have names, they have a type and a value. And before you can use a variable, you need to declare it, and after you have declared it, then you can assign values to it. So let's see practically what we are saying. Now, we say that it's a storage location, and it contains a name, a type, and a value. Now, there are basically 8 primitive data types in Java, which include int, we have byte, we have double, we have short, long, we have character, we have string, and we have float. Yes, these are the basic primitive data types we have in Java. So, and we have said that before we can use a variable, we need to declare it. So here we can say int, which means integer, one of the data type in Java, and we say you call it a variable name. We are going to talk about how to name a variable, and we can say variable, and we put a semicolon, and this variable is now being declared. So this is a type, and this is the variable name, and now we can conveniently assign value to this variable. And since the int data type only allows integers or whole numbers to be stored in this variable, we can only store whole numbers in this variable. So we can say variable is equal to 30, any number we can call it 30, then we put a semicolon. Sorry, we started with a lowercase letter. Variable is equal to 30. So we see, after we've declared this variable, we can use the variable name to assign values, and we can also declare multiple variables on the same line with using the comma to separate different variable names. For example, we say this is variable, we can say variable 2, we put our comma, we say variable 3, and just like that, you can still be declaring more variables, and when you're done, you put your semicolon. And once you're done with that, you can now assign values to each and every variable you've declared, and say variable is equal to 4, and you say variable 2 is equal to 5, variable 3 is equal to 6, and we can see now that each of these variables already have been declared, so they are valid, so they can assign values to these variables. Now, when we want to name a variable, we should take note of this. Variable names in Java can start with a letter, an underscore, or a dollar sign. And we can start a variable with a letter, an underscore, and a dollar sign. But take note, these variables can never start with a number. And after the first character, your variable names can contain any letter or number. But symbols such as percentage, comma, double quotes, and so on They are operators. They are reserved in Java, so they can't be used when naming variables. For example, if we say int, though we are going to still talk more about um, the rest data types, but let's use int for now. Let's say we want to name we want to declare a variable. I will say int fa dot u, and we'll put a semicolon. You can see that it's indicating that there is an error here that is needed to be changed, which is this, and it says syntax error or token expected. So we can see that we can't use these symbols like the full stop, the comma, and the rest of them, except for the underscore, which is allowed in Java. So if we use the underscore, it's also acceptable, and we can actually assign value to this variable. So if we assign value, we can see that it's actually working. Okay, so now we can also declare and assign values to different variables that we declare on a single line. We can say, for example, we can say, since we've declared all these variables, we can say all these variables is equal to 90, meaning that variable 2, variable 3, they are all equal to 90. Now let's talk about these data types. We have used the int primitive data type to discuss, and we've seen how it works. It stores whole numbers. What about the long and the short? They are all part of the integers. They store integers, but the memory location, the bits by which they store, the size of numbers they can accommodate are different. Like for the int, it's 32 bits, and the int is commonly used when we want to store integers. But for the long is 64 bits, while the short is 16 bits. So we prefer using the int when we want to run or store an integer. So we can demonstrate the long and short real quick. You can say long variable 5, because spaces are not allowed in a variable. Take note also, spaces are not allowed in a variable. So if we say data types also cannot the initial letter of a data type must be in lowercase. So if we want to declare that, if we want to use the long data type, we say long variable 5. Long variable 5 is equal to 566, and we close this. And then after we've declared this, we assign the value. We can also do the short, which is similar to this. Short variable 6 is equal to 56, and that is it too. Also, we can also use the character. And take note, there is a difference between character and string, as we are going to illustrate here. So if we say char, because this is how it's written in Java, it is a keyword. We say char, we say ch is equal to a. Now if we want to declare a string, I will say string ch1 is equal to alpha. alphabetic. Now we can see the difference between a string and a character with just a glance. You can see that a character is enclosed in a single quote and with a single letter, not a group of letters. But you can see strings, they are group of letters rather, enclosed in double quotes. So we can see the difference between a string and a character. So we can also talk about the float and the double. Originally, all floating numbers are known as double in Java. For example, if we say double my double is equal to 4.568 or 4.564 rather, and we can see that no error pops up. But if we want to assign a value, we want to make it specific that this value is a float, it's a float rather, and we say float my double is equal to 4.568, and we end the statement, we'll see that it appears there is a we are giving double variable name. My float is equal to 4.6568, and we end the statement. You can see that there is an error here, and if we go here, they say type mismatch cannot convert from double to float, showing that initially all floating points or all numbers that have fractions are regarded as double in Java. So to indicate that this is a float, you put F at the front of the numbers. After you're done with writing these numbers, you can write F at the front of these numbers. So it indicates that this is a float and not a double. So far we've talked much on variables, and we know we can use variables now. As we go on this lesson, we are going to see how we can cast variables. We can cast different data types as we go on in this tutorial. We also have the Boolean. The Boolean is actually used to evaluate truth or false, the truth and falsity of a statement. For example, if we say Boolean check, say Boolean check is equal to 80. Is 80 less than 9? Is 80 greater than 90? Let's see. If we output the variable, if we output this variable, say check, and then we run this, and we run the program, it says false, showing that 89 is not greater than 90. So this the Boolean data type is used for checking the falsity, or we can say it's a logical data type. Yes, we can say it's a logical data type. And take notes, all these variables that are declared and assigned values, we can call them local variables, because in Java we have instance variables and local variables, where instance variables are used to show the attributes a class possesses. For example, if we come here, we can say string name. So this is an example of an instance variable, or we can say an object variable. So we are going to know more about this as we move on, because we are going to be using the instance variable more often. Also, variables do change in the coding process. For example, we've already declared the variable 2 and variable 3 equal to 90. We can also say variable is equal to 80, and you can see it assigns 80 to this variable. Now if we say let's output variable and we output the variable, we see that here it indicates 80. So it's we can say the letter overrides this other variable here. So variable changes in the course of programming. As we are coding, when we have already assigned a value to a variable, it changes if we assign more values to it. So the last value that is assigned to it is regarded as the value it holds for that time. So in summary, variables are storage locations, and they contain a type, the variable name, and a value that is assigned to it. And there are 8 primitive data types in Java. So thank you very much for watching. In the next video, we'll be talking about strings and operators. So do well to also be available, and you can turn on the notifications button so that you can receive updates as the video uploaded.